Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up another library for the corporate digital assets. So we're going to go to the structure, create a new library. In this case, we're going to do a media library, so we'll use one of the standard templates. Now, Microsoft's very good at giving us demonstrable thumbnails and views without actually giving us anything very useful in terms of content, so we'll just use the template. And we're not going to call it a media library like this with spacing in there. We're going to call that media assets, or we could call it corporate assets or digital assets. So in this case, we're going to call that okay, we're going to make use of this library for this purposes. So we're going to create that. Now, because we've used one of Microsoft's templates, they give us options to set up additional things using their pre-configured tools like reminders. So we're actually going to do this a bit later. And what we're going to do is we'll just use this to provide a means of distributing icons and images for other use. So in this instance, we're going to grab a couple of icons and images that we can make use of, and we will drop those into the library. Now we can see that gets pulled through with thumbnails because of the way the view has been used, and we can bulk update and add metadata as we need to. And we see this gives us a range of options. So we're not using any of these, we're just using bog standard images, so we're not using media formats in that case. And from the right, they're internally royalty free because we're using them care of my corporate entity. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this particular location available in the same way that we did with the other option. But what we're going to do is we're going to make use of some of these assets we've just loaded. And we're going to use the reference for those to provide the thumbnail on the new items. So we'll just switch to PowerShell. Okay. So from here, what we're going to do is define the links for the thumbnails, and then we're going to set the corporate asset library. So let's just set the first reference. So we'll set the site library URL. Then we'll set the thumbnail URL by just grabbing the reference from here. We'll come back. So there we go, we've set the PNG reference it's going to use for the thumbnail. And now we'll use a variation on the previous add SPO org assets library. So now we're going to make use of the two variables we've added, and we're going to this time set it as an image document library. And we're going to answer that yes to all. So we now added that successfully. If we go back and check the libraries we've got, we can see that we now have a digital assets for Office, and which we haven't set a thumbnail for, which we could do separately, and we have one specifically for image assets. So the other thing we can do is we can update the existing PowerShell to make the digital asset library available for Copilot search and generative AI. To do this, we just append the command with the -copilot searchable $true option and apply. Now, if we just list the details for the individual libraries, we can see that actually the definition for being Copilot searchable is not displayed on the standard list of properties, but it has been applied. But if we want to see how the new digital asset library becomes available, we can simply go to the site in the background, select create a new page. Any page will do since we're just using this as a demonstration. We'll highlight an image that we want to apply or update. I'm going to browse for available imagery. And besides the standard stock images and web search, we can now see that we have a Your Organization reference. And we see the library we created for digital assets has the thumbnail we identified in the original command. And if we go there, we can see a thumbnail representation of all the assets that have been stored in that environment for us to use. If we select one of these, apply to the picture, that image is now available in the content we're creating.